microbes in human welfare. Okay, so last chapter which we've seen is about the disease caused by human health and diseases. Like, what are the diseases which the microbes will cause? What type of diseases, which is more harmful? How to treat the diseases? All that we have seen. So in this chapter, we're going to see about how useful the microbes are to the human being. See, though we say that microbes are like doing that, this and all, without microbes we cannot survive, we cannot lead a normal life. Okay, so microbes, it has got more beneficial roles, equally beneficial roles is so in the day-to-day activities. Okay, so we're going to divide it into categories according to the way they use, and then we're going to see one by one. Okay, first is, see, first of all, microbes are there everywhere. Okay, you cannot show me a place without microbes. When we humans are there along with us, there might be some millions and millions of microbes living with us. Okay, so some are harmful and some are useful. Okay, so microbes are mostly useful in the food industry. Okay, for beverages, food, milk products, all these aspects, microbes are very useful. Okay, so first and foremost thing is daily products. Okay, so we use a lot of you know for our day-to-day life we need some essential products. Okay, so for all that, microbes are playing a very important role. First and foremost thing is curd. Okay, so curd is nothing but it is formed by it is formed from the milk. Okay, so you have a bacterium called as lactobacillus. So lactobacillus is a bacterium which lives in your milk. Okay, so this lactobacillus converts your milk protein into curd. Okay, so this lactobacillus is, it's a bacterium. So this is helpful in the formation of curd. Okay, so fermentation of curd is happening because of the presence of the bacterium. Then your yogurt, buttermilk, all these are formed by the action of your microbes. Okay, streptococcus, etc. Okay, streptococcus is the one. Then your buttermilk is nothing but the acidulated liquid. During the fermentation it is only called as buttermilk. Okay, then the most important one is your bread or baking. Okay, so the bacteria which is famous in baking industry is nothing but your yeast. That's nothing but your Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So Saccharomyces plays a very important role. Okay, so this has a very important role in this in baking products. Okay, for example, the yeast will help in the swelling up of the dough and it will cause small holes. Okay, so if you can see the bread, it won't be a continuous structure. You can find lot of holes now and then. Okay, those holes are nothing but your carbon dioxide gas which is being released. That is only is imprinted in the form of holes. Okay, and that action is because of the yeast, that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, fine. Then your cheese products. See, you have more than 500 varieties of cheese. Okay, so all cheese are nothing but the cheese is formed by the action of this microbes on a medium. Okay, it may be fungi, it may be algae, whatever. See, broadly you can divide the cheese into hard cheese, soft cheese. So hard cheese, it is mostly from the Propionibacterium. Propionibacterium is useful in the formation of the hard cheese. It will be very hard, you have to cut it out. This is mildly hard sweet. This will be mostly your penicillium. Penicillium is nothing but your fungi. Okay, that's bacterium and this is fungi. Uh, this is also a penicillin species, but this is different and that is different. Penicillium, this will be Corynebacterium and this, sorry, Penicillium camberberti will be the bacterium for your mildly soft cheese. Okay, so likewise, see, you have something called Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese is also from your Propionibacterium. Okay, likewise, you have various varieties of cheeses. Okay, it is all based upon the action of the microbe on that particular medium. So followed by that, where you use this in your day-to-day activities is that in your dosa or idli batter. Dosa or idli batter. See, as soon as you grind the grains, okay, as soon as we grind the grains, what happens is that we'll leave the dough as such for the entire night. Okay, so morning what happens is the dough will raise the level. Okay, when they prepare dosa or idli batter, they'll leave it overnight, and morning if you see, the levels will be little raised. Okay, and that is because of the formation of carbon dioxide again. That process of raising is called as leavening, Leavening. The phenomenon of raising of your dough, that is your dosa idli batter, is called as leavening. Okay, so this happens actually. So what happens? This is because of the action of your Saccharomyces bacterium again. Again, Saccharomyces is nothing but your fungi. Okay, so this is because of the action of your Saccharomyces species, and they will also emit little amount of carbon dioxide. You will feel little sour taste, okay, in the batter. That's because of the emission of carbon dioxide. So fermentation is happening and carbon dioxide is being emitted. So that is why this is happening. And next important application is toddy. Toddy is nothing but a traditional drink. Okay, if you go to the village sides and all, they'll drink only this toddy. They'll not consume alcohol and all. Okay, what is this toddy is? Uh, the sap of the palm plant. Okay, palm plant sap. Palm, PALM. The sap of the palm plant. Okay, they'll just make a cut and they'll tie a pot to that cut. Okay, what happens is the sap slowly oozes out and it gets into the pot. For example, if this is your tree, they'll make a cut here and they'll tie a small pot like this. So what happens, the sap oozes out inside the pot and it gets naturally fermented. Okay, and that is used as a traditional drink in the village sites. So this has very less content, alcohol content has say about 6 to 7%. Okay, so toddy is a traditional drink in most of the villages. So these are the examples in our day-to-day products. First is curd, yogurt, bread, then your cheese, dosa idli batter, toddy, etc. So in all these, there will be presence of bacterium. So this lactobacillus, it's called as LAB. Okay, so how is the fermentation happening over here and all? That's because of the presence of enzyme. What enzyme? The enzyme called zymase in the yeast converts your medium into your alcohol. Okay, so yeast, the enzymes, that is zymase, amylase, maltase, plays a very important role in this process. Okay, next is we're going to see about the fermentation industry. So as you know what fermentation is alcohol production. Okay, so what do they do in alcohol production is they'll not produce it in the laboratory. They'll grow the microbes in large scale. If you remember, I told you this in biotechnology. That's called as the growing of microbes in large scale is done in bioreactor. Okay, you have a huge vessel. Okay, so what happens? They'll do the distillation also. So in one stages you can get one type of alcohol. Okay, but overall bioreactor is very it is used in almost everywhere wherever you're growing microbes, they'll use only this. Okay, so if you see the fermentation industry, the product, see, you can make alcohol from many products. Okay, alcohol formula C2H5OH. This is ethanol. Okay, so for that what you need is okay, you need a sugar base. Okay, so what happens, this is n number of times. Okay, so you need a sugar base. So that sugar base or sugar source can be anything in the sense, I mean, it can be your molasses waste, that is sugarcane waste for this alcohol industry. It can be from any cereals, it can be from barley, it can be from fruit juices, whatever. Okay, so from whichever source you're making the alcohol, accordingly you can divide. Okay, you have varieties of alcohol like the beer, then your whiskey, brandy, vodka. All these are different types. But how do they differ is the source from which they made makes the difference. Okay, for example, if you take your this vodka, this is made from potato. Okay, So vodkas are made from potato. Wine is from grape juices. Okay. Fermented cereals and all, whiskey is made. Beer is made again from barley. Okay. So these are all the products from which the source which you consider, accordingly you'll get the products. Okay. Now, what happens is that when you have, okay, you have three methods. One is batch fermentation. Remember this C6H12O6. So you will get the type of alcohol based upon the sugar source which you're choosing. As I've told you, in case of some cheap products will be like from local potato, something like that. Costlier ones will be from the cereals and all. Okay, and fruit juices, wine is all made from fruit juices. So accordingly, you'll get that particular type and quality. Okay, and one more thing, you have two types of fermentation. One is batch fermentation. So in batch fermentation, what happens is they'll use the entire content completely. Okay, the nutrient is used completely. There is no wastage. So it takes more time. And next is your continuous fermentation. So in this, what happens is that they'll be constantly removing the waste and add little amount of nutrition. And the last one is fed fermentation. And this, the bacterium is continuously fed. I mean, the microbe is continuously fed. This is fully fermented. There is no wastage. Here you will remove little and add food. Here there will be continuous addition of food. Okay. So this is all about your fermentation industry. So bioreactor and all you know well. So you'll have optimum conditions for growing the microbes. Okay. So next is we're going to see is about antibiotics. So you all know what is antibiotic. So antibiotics, antis against, bio is life. So something against life is called antibiotics. Whose life is microbial life. Okay. So I used the term before. I told you bacteria can be destroyed by adding this antibiotic. So this acts against your bacteria. Antibiotics mainly works against your bacteria. Okay. Now, so how will the first, the term was coined by a scientist called as Waxman. Waxman is a scientist who coined the term antibiotic, and the first antibiotic which is discovered was penicillin by Alexander Fleming. Okay, so this penicillin is actually a rescue medication during World War. Many soldiers were saved by using this penicillin. Okay, so how will they work is that they'll identify the bacterium and they will restrict the growth of bacterium. That way it will kill the bacterium. Okay. Then, so you know that most of the first penicillin is extracted from a fungus called as Penicillium rotatum. So all these other antibiotics, for example, bacitracin, it is used against your bacillus. Streptomycin against your streptococcal variety. Okay. Neomycin, gentamicin, all these mycins, anything ending with mycin is your antibiotic. Okay. You have two types of antibiotics. One is broad spectrum antibiotic. Broad spectrum antibiotic is that they can be treated generally. Okay. They don't have to specialize. So this works well for everything, not particularly this type of bacterium or that, nothing like that. This works well for all type of bacteria. Okay, so it is not generalized. Whereas the second type is a specific one wherein limited, or I'll call it as limited type. So this antibiotics are only against that particular species of bacterium. So antibiotics play a very important role. Okay. So if you have throat infection, okay, if you have any fever, the first step which we would do is giving the antibiotics. So if it is a bacterial infection, the infection or the effect will be lowered. If not, if it is some special case, then you have to use your limited antibiotics to treat them effectively. Okay. So this is all about your antibiotics. Okay. One more thing is these days, okay, so as I told you, some of the examples are bacitracin, streptomycin, neomycin, All these are antibiotics. Okay, gentamicin. So all these are antibiotics. Okay, but what is the problem now is that slowly the bacterium is gaining resistance against all these antibiotics. It is slowly, it is making some changes so that it can overcome this antibiotic barrier. Okay, so what happens when it is gaining? See, earlier days, if we have fever, if we take some Crocin or something, it will be gone. But these days, okay, then came Dolo and all. Now, though we use Dolo, it's not subsiding. Why? Because the bacterium is slowly gaining resistance. So you have to use even more advanced medication. Okay. What are the disadvantages? That though you're using different combos to treat the microbes, you're equally harming your body. Okay. So that is why they say you should not consume antibiotics very often, because your cells, your bacterium will start gaining resistance. Okay, industry, etc. Now we are going to see about how are they useful in producing certain chemicals, enzymes, and organic acids. Okay, so organic acids in the sense, yes, we get a lot of the organic acids are your acetic acid, butyric acid, etc. So these acids are produced by the action of bacterium on some carbohydrates. Okay, so let's see which uh, which bacterium is helpful in doing what, how. Okay, so you just have to remember the names mainly. Okay, the first thing is I'm going to talk about four basic acids. That is nothing but the first one is acetic acid, then butyric acid. Okay, so acetic acid, butyric acid, lactic acid. Okay, and then acetic acid. These three are extracted from your um, fungus. Okay, but the last one is your bacteria. Okay, so acetic acid is from Acetobacter aceti. Butyric acid is from Clostridium butylicum. Lactic acid is Lactobacillus species. Then is your Aspergillus niger. From this we get a very common acid, that is nothing but the citric acid. Okay, so these acids are produced by the action of these particular microbes. I repeat, acetic acid is from Acetobacter aceti, butyric acid is from Clostridium botulicum, lactic acid is from Lactobacillus species, and citric acid is from Aspergillus niger. So these four organic acids are produced by the action of your microbes only. Then what else? Next, coming to some chemicals. Okay, so I'll continue the number. Lipases. What is a lipase? It's an enzyme. So lipase means it cuts the lipid sequences. Okay, protease, it breaks the protein. DNase breaks the DNA. So lipases will break the lipids. Okay, so this lipases, what happens is, it is used in laundry, that is dry cleaning. So we'll have some oil stains and all, which is difficult to remove by normal washing, right? So what they'll do in dry cleaning is that they'll use this lipase enzymes, and they'll just use that, and then it will help them to remove the stains. Okay. Next is proteases. These enzymes, okay, and pectinases. Proteases and pectinases. This is used in the beverages industry. Like if you see in supermarkets, you get a lot of commercial beverages, right? So if you notice them, though they are extracted from the fruit juices, I'll not find any clogging or any clot or any lump kind of thing in the juices. The juices which we drink is so clear, correct? So what they will add is that they'll add some proteases, so that what happens is proteases will break the protein, so it will not allow any lump formation inside the bottle. So that is why we get a very clear solutions. Okay, so that is one. Next is strep enzyme extracted from Streptococcus bacterium. Streptococcus bacterium. So kinase is the enzyme extracted from Streptococcus bacterium. So what will this do is that this is commercially called as clot buster. What is a clot buster is that it is, see, this Streptococcus is little bit altered or engineered or modified, and it is made into a clot buster. So what is this clot buster is that this Streptococcus will have some fibrolytic enzyme. As the name says, lytic is dissolve. We're dissolving what? Fibrous, that is your clots. Okay. So this Streptococcus is genetically modified so that it has got a fibrolytic enzyme. So this fibrolytic enzymes, so when we have some patients with blood clots or heart blockages, when they give them this particular thing, it will go and dissolve the clot. So this streptokinase is help in the dissolution of your clot. So that is why it is called as clot buster. Okay. So next is that eighth one. Next eighth example is that cyclosporin A. Okay. Cyclosporin A is a product which is extracted from the fungus called as Trichoderma. Trichoderma polysporum. Okay. So what will this do is that this acts as a immunosuppressant. Immunosuppressant. So when a person wants to undergo a transplantation, okay, so what will we first do is that we'll suppress his immune system, correct? So that there will not be any reactive things against that. See, we'll check the matches maximum, but still when you're transplanting, you will immunosuppress that area. So this cyclosporin is a immunosuppressant. The last example is your statins. Statins are extracted from mycodermal species. This is again a fungi. So statins, what will they do is that they will lower the blood cholesterol level. So statins will bring down the blood cholesterol level. Okay. So if you see the person with more cholesterol or BP, statins are administered so that it will bring down their levels. Okay. So that is all about your chemicals and organic acids. Now we are going to see about, this is one application. Next application is that we are going to see about sewage treatment. Okay. So we have so much of biological waste like your garbage, your human fecus. Okay. So that waste is like so much that too managing that waste is very difficult because we have a huge population. So how will they treat this sewage fluid? What will they do with that? How will they make sure that it is less harmful, and what will they do? So all this we're going to see now. Okay. So coming to the sewage treatment, okay, you have 3 steps. Okay. So if you see the sewage treatment, the main content of that is a human fecal matter. Okay. So you have 3 steps. One is primary treatment. Next is secondary treatment. The last is tertiary treatment. Okay. So you have 3 steps: primary, secondary and tertiary. Primary is more of physical treatment. Secondary is more of biological treatment. Raised. Okay. So what happens in primary is that, as I told you, it's physical. You will manually, you will physically pick all the solid contents from the fluid. Okay. For example, you'll have, see, for that you have many methods. So you'll have a tank, right? So you'll have the waste, the garbage will be entering the tank like this. So if you just allow them as such, the particles will settle down, correct? That is, this is called as sedimentation. Okay, sedimentation, or else you can do filtration. See, our target is to remove the solid waste. So that can be done by sedimentation or filtration. Okay. So what happens? The heavy particles will settle down. Stones or any solid contents will settle down, and only liquid will be left here. Correct? So what happens? I'll call this as a effluent. Okay. I will transfer this liquid into the other tank for secondary treatment. Okay. So in the secondary treatment, there is only liquid, there is no solid, okay, there is only liquid. So what is my aim in ultimate biological sewage treatment is that I will bring down the BOD value. What is this BOD is? Biological oxygen demand. Okay, so what do they say is that if the water has more biological oxygen demand, then what happens? This is impure. If you're pure, your oxygen demand will be less. If you're impure, you'll have more demand for oxygen, correct? So if the BOD value is less, sorry, if the BOD value is less, that means that water is more polluted. So what we do in the sewage treatment is we will try to bring down the BOD value, and then we will circulate, or will mix the water with the ocean. We'll drain them into the oceans. Okay, you cannot directly drain the sewage water because it is very harmful. Okay, so you have to process it. You have to bring down the BOD value, and then you have to drain. Okay, for bringing down the BOD value, what I'm using is the microbes. So microbes are used for bringing down the BOD value. So you have something here called as flocs, FLOCS, flocs. So flocs are nothing but biological association of your bacteria and fungi. Okay, so bacteria and fungi together they exhibit mutualism, and they are dropped inside in the form of flocs. Now what will they do is that they will feed upon all the organic matter, and they will bring down the BOD value. The bacteria and fungi together will lower the BOD value, okay, because they'll use up the organic content for their purpose. So what happens ultimately, organic value will be lowered, okay. So now after the treatment with flocs, what happens is that I will take this effluent, that is a liquid again, okay, and I will see this floxerol, they feed on oxygen, okay, because they are aerobic, okay. So only when they feed on oxygen, I can bring down the oxygen demand, okay. If they not feed, if they are anaerobic, oxygen will be the same and the BOD will be the same. But just because they are aerobic, they feed upon the oxygen present in the liquid, okay. So henceforth they'll bring down the BOD value, okay. So BOD is lowered. Now what happened, I will collect the liquid again here separately, okay, the content alone I'll take it. I will digest the flocs, okay. This is called as sludge, okay, this is called as effluent. So after taking this, what will be there, what will be here is that I'll have only flocs like this, correct? So I've removed the liquid for the further processing. Now I'm left out with the flocs. I will digest this bacterium by some anaerobic microbes. These are aerobic, okay, so I'll digest them with the anaerobic digesters, okay. And then I will take little amount of floc, and then I will use that as an inoculum for the next batch, okay. Why are you taking little amount, ma'am? You can just retain this and use as an inoculum. No, this is completely grown and utilized, further which it cannot grow. So I have to take little amount. It's just like processing your curd from milk. You cannot have full cup of curd and pour little milk. It is not going to work. I should have more of medium and less microbe. Then only the process will go on. So likewise, I'll take little and process this further, and I will digest this in an anaerobic digester. Okay, fine. Followed by this, I will move on for the tertiary treatment. In the tertiary treatment, as I've told you, I'll use some X-rays or your chlorine. This is more of any, if at all, any harmful microbes are present. Okay, chlorination, irradiation like your X-rays, gamma rays, etc. So I will make sure that all the microbes are completely destroyed and all the organic matter is destroyed. The BOD value is lowered. I will check. If it is not yet lowered, then again I'll repeat the process, and then only I will drain the water, sewage water into the sea. Okay, there are like a lot of sewage treatment plants in and around Chennai also. It's mostly around Chennai. Okay, so yeah, this ways my microbes are helping in bringing down the BOD value and safe dispersion of the sewage fluid. Okay, so this is all about the sewage treatment. Cut. Now we're going to see about last few applications, which is very small. Okay, first one is production of, it's just the continuation, not the first one. Production of biogas. So you all know what is a biogas, right? So biogas is a fuel which has been extracted naturally with less contamination and which is eco-friendly also. There's no harm done to the environment. There aren't any waste released, and it is absolutely safe, and it is very easy to transport and spread and all. It is harmless. Okay, so biogas is that. But how do you produce biogas? So for the production of biogas, you need microbes. So what microbe is that? You have a microbe called as methanobacterium. Methanobacterium. So this methanobacterium is a bacteria which helps in the production of biogas. This is mostly found in cow dung. See, olden days they used to mop your house entirely with the cow dung water. Why? Because this cow dung is rich in this methanobacterium, and that will release the biogas, which is very good. Okay, and that will also prevent the growth of other microorganisms. Okay, so cow dung is a chief, that is dung water is a chief source of methanobacterium. Okay, now they'll have, as usual, if you see the biogas unit, you'll have a big vessel, and then you'll be having a piston kind of apparatus like this. Okay, so this is light and this keeps raising. Okay, now you will have a constant input here like this, and then you'll be moving the waste often. Okay, so this is where you'll pour the dung water. So what happens as the dung water gets poured? Okay, so you have the medium. Medium can be any glucose source. Okay, so the bacterium, methanobacterium present in the dung water will react with the medium, and it will start producing the biogas slowly. So what happens as the gas is produced, the gas will tend to lift the piston up gradually. Okay, so this won't be this loose, it will be tightly packed only, so the gas is equally collected. Okay, so what happens when the piston is full, you will collect the gas, and here you will remove your sludge or waste constantly. So after that, when the process is slow, you will add some more dung water. So likewise, there will be a constant input of the nutrient medium and constant removal of the waste, and all other parameters will also be checked. Okay, here the waste material, that is your whatever waste is left behind here after the process, that is again used as a fertilizer. So this is absolutely 0% pollution. I mean, it is totally pollution free and eco-friendly system. Okay, so you will get a biofertilizer, everything is all done. So it is very useful. Okay, so this is also, the bacterium name is methanobacterium. Okay, or you can call it as methanobacter. Next is used as biocontrol agents. So what do I mean by biocontrol agent is that bio is living organism. Okay, so microbes, just like that, it kills us. Okay, so it can kill some other organisms which are harmful to us. So that way we both can go hand in hand and destroy the one which we don't want. Okay, so likewise, for example, we've seen Bt cotton. Remember? So Bt cotton, Bacillus thuringiensis, that is a bacterium, is found to destroy your caterpillar. Okay, so Bacillus thuringiensis is one example. Okay, Bt, this is one. So Bt is a bacterium. Next, if you see ladybirds. So ladybirds are nothing but small insects in red color with black spots. They destroy aphids. Then your dragonflies, they will destroy your mosquitoes. Okay, and then this baculovirus. In specific, nucleopolyhedrovirus. Okay, this will destroy only arthropods. Okay, this causes no harm to the plant or humans or anybody. This will destroy only the arthropods. Okay, so likewise you have many categories. So as you know, this destroys only arthropods. So fine, I'll use this. I'll give it to the plant and I will use that as a medication. Okay, then your acetobacterium. So anything which is to be given, I will, agrobacterium, not aceto, agrobacterium. Anything if I have to give it to the plant, I'll send it through the agrobacterium because they act as a indirect vectors. They are indirect vectors. Okay, sorry, they are direct vectors. So they can help in the easy delivery of the target product whichever I'm giving. Okay, so these are all the examples for the biocontrol agents. So followed by this, bio fertilizer. So you know what is a fertilizer, right? Biocontrol agent in the sense it can be biopesticide, biofungicide, whatever, okay. But biofertilizer is something which will enrich the nutrient content in the soil, okay. So if you have some bacterium, they'll fix up the atmospheric nitrogen and they will enhance the atmospheric nitrogen in the soil, okay. So some examples are, if you see the bacteria, sorry, rhizobium. Rhizobium is found in the root nodules of leguminous plants. Then your Acetobacter, Azobacter, all these are bacteriums which will help in the fixation of atmospheric nitrogen in the soil. Okay. Then Nitrosomonas. Nitrosomonas is also a bacterium. Nitrosomonas. Then your Nitrobacter. All these are bacterial varieties. Then your cyanobacterium. Cyanobacteria. So cyanobacteria plays a very crucial role in fixing up this, in enriching your soil fertility. Okay. So cyanobacteria has a huge role. You know, cyanobacteria is a unique class of bacterium. It is not like other bacteria, correct? So they play a very major role in fixing up your, they'll enrich soil good. Okay. And the last one is your fungi, glomus. Glomus is a fungi which acts as a biofertilizer. If you see fungi, they have these roots called mycorrhizal roots, correct? So these mycorrhizal roots will go and penetrate and they will help in fixing up. Okay. So these are all the microbes which are useful as a biofertilizer. So with this we are done with microbes in human welfare.